Hello everybody, welcome to this video where I'm going to be discussing just for a little bit or very briefly the idea of endings and how I think endings have a peculiarity to it or something of an intriguing quality because ultimately we look for endings because they give us some sort of satisfaction. Right now, this idea comes because I was thinking about the fact that, like, when it's the end of the week, right? Like Friday, and people will feel good about, the end of the week or maybe the end of the workday, right? Like, especially in the afternoon, night, like when people get out of work and it's a good feeling. So it's like, I was talking to Alexa and she said something like, the good thing about it being Monday is that it's the end of Monday, right? So the end of things always has to be something positive. But then, I started thinking, and I actually made a video on it with AI called The Satisfaction of Endings, where we go through a couple of examples, like the end of a workout, the end of a long trip, the end of a tough project, the end of the school year, right? The end of the work year, right? Like in December, the end of a diet or challenge, the end of a cleaning spree, the end of waiting in a long line, and the end of paying off a debt, right? So these are some examples that the video goes into. And then I was also thinking, well, in order for it to be positive, I'm guessing the activity that you're doing has to be somewhat negative. So it has to be an activity that you really don't want to be doing, such as working on a Monday, right? Monday day, or, working through the week, or maybe doing a challenge, a diet, like it says here, working on a tough project, doing a workout, right? You may be tired and you have to do the workout so you can be fit, healthy, consistent, all these things, disciplined. But then I was like, well, what about the end of positive things or the end of things you do want to be doing? Then wouldn't that be the opposite effect? Wouldn't you not want positive things to come to an end, such as the end of the weekend, right? The end of, for example, a Saturday, or maybe like a Sunday afternoon, right? When you have to get back to work. Like think about what happens after these things, like maybe the end of having your house cleaned, right? So, you clean your house, it's clean, and then you're gonna enjoy the house being cleaned. But after a couple of days or weeks, that comes to an end, the end of cleanliness, right? And that end doesn't give you a positive effect. It gives you a negative effect because now you have to do something challenging, right? So I guess we can kind of see a cycle here of like something tough, and finishing something tough gives you a positive feeling, right? Like a dopamine hit, or this euphoric feeling of like, yes, like I finished, success, victory. And then while you're enjoying your victory, you're actually working towards that other negative end, right? Where you're going to now feel, you feel good during that time, but then at the end you feel negative because now you have to do the work again, right? Think of maybe January, right? When people have to get back to work, people have to get back to school, right? Or the end of a tough project, you rest, but then you have another project coming up, right? Paying off a debt, right? And then, as soon as you finish paying off the debt, you rack up another debt, right? And now you have to pay that off. So that's like a negative end, right? Waiting in a long line, and then they tell you go to another line, right? And then you have to again be at the end of that line and waiting all over again. So maybe the beginning is negative, the beginning, or even before you start something, right? The end of that other positive moment, and that transaction goes from negative, right, to waiting or doing the work, and then to positive when you finish it off, right? So I guess it's kind of like a cycle. And this is like a life experience stuff, but I guess the question would be, do you want to be doing that, right? This is kind of like, it reminds me of the roller coaster analogy, right? Where you're sometimes on top, sometimes on the bottom, sometimes you feel good, sometimes you feel bad. Excuse me. And it's like, is that worth it? Wouldn't you rather just be stable all of the time? But then if you're stable all of the time, that's boring, right? There's no fun in that, and people want to have diversity, variety, right? Do things that aren't really what is expected typically, right? So I just thought I'd share this. Let me know what you guys think about this, and go check out that video that I mentioned. The thing here is what happens after you finish the work. A lot of people will just automatically go back to what they were doing, right? Which is like resting or doing nothing or sleeping or whatever it is. But then if you're an anxious person, you're going to want to do something, again, right? You're going to want to have a different project, set a different goal, right? Now what am I doing? Now what am I going to do, right? Now I'm bored. So in those situations, it's important to consider that you do need rest. And I was actually talking to ChatGPT about this, and I told it, like, I don't really like resting, right? Like the thing that I do, because it actually asked me, like, what are some things, do you have any go-to activities that help you rest without feeling restless? And I said, well, no, I mean, there's like watching a movie, videos, or reading, but again, I don't want to be doing that all weekend, right? Like 3 days to rest. So then it gave me this other idea of saying you can use, it said maybe low effort, but still engaging work, right? Like journaling, casual walks, light stretching, doodling, listening to podcasts. And I was like, sure, even though podcasts are probably going to put me to sleep, because you're not seeing anything, you're just listening, and you can close your eyes and then you can just doze off, especially if you're tired from the week. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of take into consideration this aspect of, people that like to stay busy and what happens when they need to relax, right? It's like, what's your personality like? Are you type A or type B, right? Type A are active people, type B are passive people. If you're a passive person, when you rest, that's your go-to place. And when you're working, that's when you're like miserable. And type A, when you're working, that's your go-to place. That's when you're happy. And when you're resting, that's when you're miserable, right? So it's kind of like a backwards thing. And I guess it's like about balancing those two things, right? Like, sure, you may enjoy working more or relaxing more, but when you're on the other side of things, which is necessary, and it's kind of what allows you to experience the other side that you like, right? To go to the other side, right? And when you're in that other side, whether you like working or resting, you need to experience the other side, right? When you're on the other side, you need to experience the other side, but not only that, you need to learn to like enjoy it also, right? So if you're a person that rests and you don't like to work, you need to find the joy in working, and vice versa. If you're a person that likes working, you need to find the joy in resting and not doing anything, right? So that's food for thought for the day. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? So peace.